Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas. Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and author, Sean Douglas. I want to welcome to the show my guest for today, Rachel Kaplan. Rachel, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to talk to you today.
I am super pumped to have you. So this show is heard in over 74 countries. So if you're listening to us for the first time or you've been listening to us for a long time, I want to welcome you to the show from wherever you're listening. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. For the listeners listening, call us up at 657-383-1109, and you can ask questions to the guest live as we record the show here on the Blog Talk Radio Network. You can join our Facebook community, Life Transformation Radio Community, and never miss an episode by subscribing to the show wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, and the Google Play Music app. Wherever you listen to podcasts, please subscribe and rate and review Life Transformation Radio. Also, Rachel is the host of the Healing Feeling Shit Show, so make sure that you subscribe to that show as well. Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm doing fabulously. Yeah. I'm just coming off of a really big holiday. Like the highest holiday in the Jewish calendar was yesterday, where we spent the whole day deeply reflecting and praying. And so I'm feeling refreshed and renewed and ready to move forward.
Very cool. Very cool. What's the Jewish holiday called?
It's called Yom Kippur, and they call it the Day of Atonement, but a cool way to look at it is the Day of At-One-ment. It's about coming back to yourself and your highest purpose and your, highest self, letting go of all the ways we've messed that up this last year.
Wow. Okay. Very, very cool. Have you, not knowing anything about your background, is this something that you've been raised with, or is this something that you just recently started becoming a part of?
Yeah, good question. I was raised Jewish, and in the development of my life and my spirituality, I took a big turn from Judaism in my, I'd say, late teenage years and got deeply into Eastern religions and more explicitly spiritual paths. But in the last 15 years since I've come back to California, where I live now and where I was born, there's a really thriving, creative, and earth-connected, like I spent this day on a farm in nature doing deep work where most of the people were camping out. And so there's a way that I found a branch of Judaism that feels really alive and resonant for me. And so, and it's always just been a deep part of my cultural life. But I feel like it doesn't define my connection to what I feel like is happening here, but it's a really useful tool and part of that.
Wow. Okay. So I was, and we don't go like super deep, like on religion on this show. Like it's, because it kind of like pisses people off. Like, no, my religion's better. No, my religion's better. Like, so people get so like divisive about it. But I was raised Catholic, and you know, when I was 18, I left because I just didn't agree with a lot of the teachings, and I don't know. I had my own version of things. I had the Bible version of things. My family's like huge Roman Catholic, but my family, my wife and kids, we're just non-denominational Christians. Like, that's just kind of what we are.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I knew that wasn't what we're here to talk about today, but when you're asking me how I am, it's a deep part of just, you know, how I am. So happy to share that.
Yeah,
and I'm excited to talk about what we'll probably talk about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I just don't debate. Like, I've noticed that religion and politics are two divisive topics, and I don't go into, I mean, the history of it's cool, but like, well, why do you believe that? Well, that's crap. And why would you ever believe that? You know, like if I had a Mormon on here, you know, and then the next time was like, you know, like Jewish, they'd be like, well, that guy was dumb, and I just don't want to go there.
Right.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
some reason people are like, no, my religion's the best. like, okay.
Well, I mean, people have been doing that since the beginning of time, and it seems counter to what every single one of them are saying. I think what matters is, does something work for you? Does it help you be a human in a better way, kinder way? You know, but many paths.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So before we begin really in depth, I want to ask you, because I honestly don't know, it says MA and MFT. What is that?
So I'm a marriage and family therapist. So it's the master's level.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's the master's level degree for psychotherapist or psychologist.
Love it. Love it. So let's dive in. So the title of this episode is The Healing Feeling Shit Show with Rachel Kaplan. She has been relentlessly studying healing since her life was devastated by the traumatic suicide of her first love at 14 years old. This lifelong personal pursuit led her on an international mission to study the methodologies of the world, focusing on spiritual practices of Eastern religions and the cutting-edge Western psychological approaches. She is a longtime yoga practitioner and teacher, meditation practitioner, as well as a bold, seasoned psychotherapist. After 25 years of studying these technologies and successfully working with students and clients, Rachel simplified the single most important and necessary tenet of deep core psychological healing as the emotional equivalent to potty training. Rachel created a new podcast, The Healing Feeling Shit Show, launched in February of 2019, to potty train grown-ups through the foundational and educational first season so they can achieve emotional resilience, the new happy. Rachel has also has a thriving psychotherapy practice in the San Francisco Bay Area. Besides catalyzing healing, she delights in music, dancing, design, fashion, and the band Radiohead. Go to Your Core, C-O-R-E, yourcorewound.com and take a free quiz with an attached module of where to start with your emotional healing skills. And you can go to the healingfeelingshitshow.com, and there's a bit.ly link that will take you to the website as well. And while you're listening to her show, go ahead and subscribe to that show and help share it out. Brand new show. I've had the privilege of listening to a couple episodes. It's absolutely hilarious, I think. It's absolutely hilarious, but it's also very educational based. So it's not like a bunch of woo-woo fluffy fluff, you know, make me feel good. There's actual like tips and strategies, and like you cover a wide variety of ways that somebody can become not only resilient but just a better person. So I absolutely love that about the show.
Thank you so much. I'm honored that you've listened. Yeah.
Well, I have to because you're going to be a guest on my show. So I got to do my homework.
Yeah, the first season is really a transformational course. It's not a podcast. And I wasn't really a podcast person before I made it. And so, and that was helpful in the way that I didn't just do what podcasts do necessarily. And then I had to hustle to figure out how to make it work as a podcast. But yeah, it really is, it guides someone step by step through how to heal themselves. And how to get your...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just how to move your feelings through your body for the purpose of healing and being who you really are.
Oh, perfect. What I was going to say before I absolutely rudely interrupted you was I think that podcasts are, how do I phrase this? Podcasts are what they are. They're outdated. So you actually have to do what you did, do what I do what others do, and actually constantly create new categories of a podcast. Just simply having an interview podcast is just, everybody's done it. It's like motivational speaking. There's millions of them. There's nothing different, right? But I love what you did, and what you said was actually, it was more of a transformational course that was really repurposed into a podcast, thus creating a new category of a podcast. My show is absolutely live, so anybody listening right now can absolutely call into the show at 657-383-1109, 657-383-1109. And we can actually take calls into the show, which is not what other people are doing. And I had a guy named Pradeep Sangha about a month ago come on. It was a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. Come on the show, and what he does specifically is he is a coach for fathers who have a business, not businessmen who are family men. You are a father. You are a family man first, and then a businessman second. We had 4 phone calls immediately into that show.
Wow.
And it was amazing. So I don't always get calls, but when I do, they really kind of flood in. And so it's repurposed. The live show is repurposed into a podcast. So my love for that category design is really what you're talking about. Is you created a transformational course that was really repurposed into a podcast, and I absolutely love that.
Thank you. Yeah, and we'll see if anyone wants to ask any questions today.
Perfect. So my first question
No
for you
pressure.
the most important question that I could ever ask somebody is why. So Rachel, we learned in your bio that there was a devastating traumatic incident. Is that your why, or why do you do what you do?
Great question. Well, in a big way, it is my why, in the sense that it initiated and demanded me to, it was really life or death for me. I had actually promised him, I tried to stop him from committing suicide by promising him that A, I would never forgive him if he did, and B, I would commit suicide also. I never really I was never serious about that. I didn't think it was just a strategy because I felt deeply trapped. But it was life or death for me. And so thank God, instead of turning to drugs and alcohol or suicide, I committed by, I'd say, 16 in a very deep way to try to feel better. And it's been I'm turning 40 this year, but it's been the last 25 years of my life where my entire focus, while still having a life of other activities, was learning about healing and pursuing my own healing and then helping people heal. And the truth is that, and I feel this so deeply right now in the last few months particularly, I feel so in my purpose and so well used by, how can I help? We're in such a critical moment on the planet right now around, the environment and politics and, humans. It's a hard time. I think it's always been hard to be a person. It's just, just the fact that we die, the fact that we lose connection, that we lose our health, that we struggle. There's no way around challenge here. And that's why I think emotional resilience is better than happiness, because if you're a human,
Right.
you're going to have pain. And so for me, I feel like to help people become skillful and less ashamed of their emotional pain, and to learn how to have their emotional pain well, where they can actually reduce, the backlog of pain and start to connect to what is it they're here to do. It really feels like my purpose. And I wouldn't have
Love it.
gotten there if I didn't spend 25 years tirelessly working on it. And the one last thing I'll say is just, it's to be a true companion to someone in pain. The person in that role, therapist, psychiatrist, healer, they need to have been willing to feel their own pain, or it's just, you can't take someone past where you've gone. And so I just, I can't regret and don't regret. And I'm so grateful that I spent that time getting really comfortable with my pain so that I can help other people get comfortable with theirs.
Okay. So far, my takeaway and what resonated with me when you said that was that you can't take someone past where you've gone.
I think so, yeah.
That's amazing. And the reason why it resonated with me is because like a month ago, I was contacted by a guy on Facebook Messenger. We've all got these Facebook messages with like, oh my God, I love what you're doing. Here's what I do. I'd love to work with you and like try to sell me a services, whatever. I'm like, that's awesome. What do you do? Oh, I'm a 22-year-old life coach.
Right.
Get stuff out of my face.
Yeah.
I've been through more crap in the 18 years of military service than this dude has in the full 22 years that he's been on this earth. Like get out of my face. So I asked him, oh, that's awesome, 22-year-old life coach. I'm like, maybe he's a foster care kid. Nope. Maybe he is a statistic. Nope. White dude. Maybe he's, through like a traumatic event. Nope. Both parents are still alive. Both parents are married. He grew up in a pretty decent neighborhood, and he just wants to help people live a better life. This dude's literally been through nothing. I'm like, oh, get out of my face. Right? So
I'd love to see what his techniques are.
Right? That's what I want. I wouldn't even bother. I'm like, I literally told him, I was like, dude, respectfully, you ain't been through nothing yet. Wait till you've been through a divorce. Right. Wait till you've actually tried to take your life. Wait till you've actually been shot at in the military. Make sure that you've actually been in a couple car accidents. Make sure that you've actually, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, live life, bro. Like, don't try to be a life coach. You haven't even lived it yet. You haven't even lived it. Right. So I respectfully, as much as nice as I could, told him no. But that's, oh my gosh, like I believe in that so much. Like I love your why, but I don't want to take away anything from anybody, but come on. Like if you haven't literally like, and I don't know, again, I don't know too much because I haven't dived into like love life and stuff, but like, if you haven't, one, gone to college for a really long time and got degrees and like learned techniques, two, gone on missions and learned these things, or three, gone through divorce or had a family yourself or whatever, like how the hell are you qualified? You know what I mean? Like so what you're saying literally is you got to be qualified in a nice way by saying you cannot literally take somebody through something that you haven't through yourself or know modalities of actually doing it.
Right. Yeah, and part of what I think is happening there, and I'm specifically speaking to a specific, like the emotional realm. I think that the therapeutic industry, in a large way, is phoning it in, and that there's a lot of therapy out there that's B-, I'd say, keep enabling people, keeping people comfortable. And part of it is that it is a fantastic career. And so I'm sure there are many people who are incredibly well-intentioned, but who are doing it because it's such a great career. And, that to be actually able to help someone, it's a balance. I mean, there's a lot of ideas about how, just the connection with the therapist is enough to heal the client. They've done research where they say it almost doesn't matter what technique the therapist uses if the client feels connected to the therapist and they're going to heal. And I think that that's not enough. It's not enough because sometimes what people feel good about is being kind of affirmed in what they're doing that's not helping them. And so there's a real art of how to establish trust and safety, but then skillfully confront someone and help someone get to a blind spot. And for a therapist to be willing to do that, they need to be solid. They need to trust that they have more clients coming. They need to not be so invested in the person's money that they want to keep them sick. And then they need to have...
Right.
Those are some fun noises. They need to have a sense of life,
dogs
right?
just in my house.
Yeah. Someone needs to have a sense of what is actually going to help them. I mean, emotional pain it's a beast, right? You know, like shame, worthlessness, imposter syndrome. Like these things are complex and excruciating. And so to help someone actually learn how to tackle and tolerate those experiences is no small joke. And it wasn't until I did some really profound work with someone who is more like, and he doesn't use this word, but more like a shaman, more like, that's not what he calls himself, but he was not in any way in the therapeutic industry until I was really able to break through my own experience and, get to where I am now. And so, yeah, I feel committed to that. And that's part of what the shit show is like, and a lot of people, the reviews I've gotten, and it is a new show, but I'm already at like 84,000 downloads in 8 months and 99
awesome.
countries. And yeah, and people are like, this is better than any therapy I've had. I'm like, I know, me too. This is what helped me too, which is why I feel like I have to share it.
Well, I'm completely happy for you. I think, last time I checked anyways, I was at 74 countries. I think it has a lot to do with content, but I think it has a lot to do with the platform as well. Like I use Blog Talk Radio. Not a lot of people have heard it. I do my fair share of marketing, speak at different events. I got hundreds of thousands of downloads, but there's certain countries that haven't downloaded my show or that I just don't know that downloaded it, because of, whatever reason with the platform. Maybe they didn't update their analytics. I mean, I don't know. I know Libsyn.
Who knows?
When you what's that?
I said, who knows? That part of it is also mysterious to me. I don't understand how it all works, the beast of what these are about. Go ahead, Libsyn.
Sure.
What about it?
Yeah, so Libsyn is one of the better ones that I have found that actually does really well with knowing what the download is. For example, with... Yeah, that's who I'm on. That's where I am. Good. So Google has said that when you, as an Android user, when you click on, like if I go to your show on Google Play, which is where I listen to all my podcasts, is on the Google Play app, and I subscribe to your show, it doesn't really register anything until I click on episode 1 or 2 or whatever. I click on an episode. Once it clicks on the episode, then it starts downloading all of your show. Like your show has downloads. On Apple, as soon as you subscribe to it, it automatically starts downloading. So what I've noticed is that Google, when you've clicked on a show, it counts it as a download or a stream. When on Apple, it doesn't. So you might get hundreds of thousands of downloads, but you don't know how many people have actually listened to your show. That's what I don't like. On Blog Talk Radio, they don't count downloads. They count listens and streams. So I can actually see how many people have actually listened. So out of the hundreds of thousands of downloads, I have 27,000 listeners. That's how many people listen to my show every week. And it tells me there's how many people every month, every week, whatever. So I have 27,000 people that listen to my show every week. But I've got hundreds of thousands. So all of a sudden it'll spike. I'll get, holy crap, 1,000 more people have just listened to my show because they've gone back and gone into their downloads and they've actually listened to my show. So I tell people, like, listen or downloads don't actually equal listens. But I'd love to have a platform like Chartable is great. Chartable actually tells you where you're charting. So I tell people, go to Chartable, go click on the integration, then submit your RSS feed and see where you're charting at. I just hit number 34 in Peru. but Peru wasn't even on the list of shows or of countries that actually listen to my show until recently. So I don't know.
That's awesome.
I guess it's
hey,
never going to know. Right? And I was like, oh, it's Peru. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I had to look on a map to see even where Peru was. I wasn't sure. I kind of had an idea. But I'm like, oh, it's cool.
I saw Radiohead in Peru last year in 2017. It was awesome.
Oh, that's
I guess
amazing.
at this point that was 2 years ago, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
like,
the podcast is so new, right? Everything's so new.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm trying to not get so distracted by the statistics that I lose sight of what is my purpose, because to me, the platform is a vehicle, and it's fun and it's exciting, and I certainly like the playing with stats also, but I'm trying, I think it can be distracting from like you're helping people with transformations. It's like that's still really important, I'm helping people heal themselves. It's amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. So let's talk about that. What is a transformational moment in your life that put you on the path to what you're doing today?
Well, there have been many. I mean, the first one is what I mentioned, the suicide. I'd say that the transformational moment that was the culmination of kind of the healing is pretty profound, and you've referenced this. I actually was married, and the marriage was not really viable based on we loved each other deeply, but just the ways our systems, our nervous systems, our bodies, the ways our emotional systems would wire when there was pressure was just completely unworkable. And I was so committed to making the marriage work that that was when I found or did the deepest dive with the healer I was talking about, this kind of earth-based healer. And I worked my butt off for 4 years with this guy, and it was mostly on the phone, but I would go out to his land in the Southwest desert a few times during that 4-year stretch. Anyway, I finally got to the place where I really had to, look at myself and say, okay, if I want emotional resilience in my life, if I want well-being, I cannot stay in this marriage. And so I finally, chose to leave. And I had actually moved out for a year during that time and moved back in. I was really trying everything I could do. And anyway, the day that I finally left was, and this was without any force or orchestration, it was the 22-year anniversary of the boyfriend's death. And, Sean, it's hard to talk with all the noise. I wonder, is there any way to mute it?
I'm
crazy
sorry.
banging.
I have a new dog.
It's totally okay, but I'm just like,
I'll
rivaling.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm almost
I'll mute
at
the
end
noise.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so when I finally got clear to leave the marriage, it was the 22-year anniversary on the nose, on the day of the boyfriend's death. And then I found the gorgeous apartment I'm sitting in right now. And from moving in and out of my marital home, I really knew the Bay Area, Oakland housing market so intimately. So I found this place and I was just so in love with it. I needed to have it. Luckily I got it, which is not, a guaranteed thing. And I was supposed to move into this place with the truck of big objects on a Monday. And it was really rainy that day. So the mover said, why don't we push it back to Tuesday? And the day I moved out of my marital home was the dead boyfriend's birthday. And honestly, I feel like my marriage was the karmic, if you will, it was the cauldron or the catalyst for me to really heal because I was doing this profound work with this healer during the marriage. And by the way, they had the same first name, and the healer's last name is Grant. I'm not supposed to use his full name, but so I was in this life-changing sandwich of these two people with the same name, one Grant, and totally changed my life. And then in the few years since then, that was January 2017. In the few years since then, I've really kind of been able to meet myself and see how much well-being I have now that I'm not in this terrible marriage. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I need to share all of this. And so that's when all of the work toward the shit show came to be.
Oh, no kidding. I wouldn't even know how to even navigate that, because I've been how you hear you have a song for your relationship or whatever. Like, oh my God, it's our song. There's always, I don't know, you always have to have a song, right?
Totally.
Even now I hear a certain song and I'm like, ugh, like turn it off. Like, oh geez. So
from old
thrusted,
relationships, you mean?
yeah, from like old relationships. Yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. Like, go away. But being thrusted into that environment, I wouldn't even know how to navigate that, like emotionally, which is something that is funny. I teach mental, emotional, social, and spiritual resilience, and because I've never been in your situation, me personally, I'm like, man, I have to really dig deep into emotional intelligence and some other tools that I have. But yeah, I can't even imagine what that was like. Number one, being a suicide survivor myself, losing people to suicide, and then, having to listen to the names and say, like, that's got to be tough. That has to be tough.
Yeah. Well, then the power of suicide. I mean, it's definitely one of the, I think, most painful things that humans get exposed to. It's really crippling,
right.
But I think it's possible to overcome anything. And I love that you focus on resilience. I really think that resilience is where it's at, because if you are strong enough to be emotionally resilient, and to me, I define it as just knowing that you can handle whatever life brings, because you can deal with your feelings. You know how to deal with pain. You know how to deal with fear. You know how to deal with shame, how to deal with grief. And in some way, like I said in the bio or in my show, it's like it's easy to deal with those feelings. They're not easy, but it's simple. It's like it takes some work to rediscover the feelings or allow the feelings. But when we know we can handle our feelings, life becomes less scary, and then we can actually play big and be bold and, fall in love or be in relationships or put ourselves out there, because worst case scenario, we're going to have hard feelings, right? I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I totally get it.
It's like the quote where they're like, it's life is our reaction to what happens to us versus what happens to us. It's like if we learn how to react and how to deal with our reactions. Perfect.
I was literally going to say the same thing. Emotional, you become emotional because of that situation, and how you react to that situation really drives, those emotions, those, I always say that thoughts, feelings, and beliefs drive all of your reactions to every situation. Right. Otherwise, why would we get so mad at the current political state? Why would we get so angry or defensive when someone talks about our religion? Why would we get so mad if someone talks about our spouse or our kids? If they're like, well, your kid's really not that bright. Like, it's not your kid. You're really not that smart. Like, you get pissed. You're like, that's my kid. You're never going to talk crap about your kid. You're like, oh, I know. My kid is stupid. I know. Like, you would never, as a parent, as a good parent, as a really good parent, never, ever say that, oh, well, you would come up with ways like, my kid is special in his own way, or, oh, whatever. Right. He's just a kid. Like, it's fine. Like, I love my kid. And, our emotions are so strong. And I heard it somewhere that there's two of the most powerful entities on this planet is a thought in your head and a feeling in your heart.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And I think, the one caveat about that quote about, it's our reactions is I think there's this new movement, and I don't know how long it's been going on, but certainly the new age spiritual approach, and also even in the therapeutic approach, where, I don't think that quote means we shouldn't have our feelings. I think that's right. What I'm trying to counter or to bring forward, is that the answer is not to put an affirmation on all of the feelings we have. I think that the work that I'm trying to bring forward is like, you actually do need to have the feelings. Like, but it's not so much thinking the feelings, it's not so much believing the feelings. And that's why I use the metaphor of poop. So I'm going to ask you a question. When you had to poop today, and it's later in the day where you are, so I'm pretty sure you've had to poop today, right? When you got the feeling from your guts that you had to, were you like, oh, maybe I should post something and see how my stats are doing, or maybe I'll eat, or maybe if I buy a new thing, I won't have this feeling? Did you do any of that?
No.
No, what did you do?
I just went.
Yeah, you went to the bathroom, right? And so that is
Right.
why this is such a great way to understand our feelings, is that when we, right now, the way we've all been trained, and I think it's worse for men, but the way we've been trained is that we're not supposed to have feelings. We're not supposed to be sad. We don't like being uncomfortable. And of course, it's like, it's not, it's uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. But so when we get those feelings, we get a wave of anxiety or shame. Like, we are much more likely to go to the refrigerator, pull out a cigarette, buy something, read something. And so there's this way that we're all trying to distract and consume. And I even think through success and validation and all of the resumes and all of the, validation of social media, we're all trying to cover up these hard feelings we have. And so what that leads to is, imposter syndrome and suicides and people like Anthony Bourdain and all these other top of the ladder people, realizing, that they're still with pain, even if you reach every pinnacle that our society teaches us we should reach. And so what I'm saying is, hey guys, why don't you just learn how to do what we do when we have to poop? It's like when we have to poop, we're like, okay, I can't poop on my desk at work. I should go to a place where I can go do this. We don't look at the poop and think, okay, what does this mean about me today? We don't think, if my friends knew I pooped again today, they would think I'm weak. We just do it. We wash up. It's not a big deal. And we might not be, there is some shame around poop. That's why I'm using the metaphor of it, because I wouldn't be like, hey, Sean, come check out this deuce I laid, It's like, try this. So I'm using the bridge. There's a bridge there. Like, everyone poops, literally, and there might be some shame there. But I think we have more shame culturally around the parts of us that feel inadequate and worthless. And so I'm saying, learn how to do this. You don't have to be ashamed. Literally everyone has these feelings, and all you have to do is learn how to tune into the sensations of them in the body, learn how to have them move through the body, and flush that shit out.
Yep, absolutely agree. And I think that when you emotionally so what I try to do, is emotionally feel hard. Like, I don't want to just feel one emotion. You know what I mean? So what I try to do is, I'm angry. Let's say I'm angry. So I'll feel what that feels like, right? But then I have to move on. So I give myself, if I'm mad, I give myself a couple minutes. I want to feel, whatever it is, because we have these taboo emotions like, oh, I can't feel mad. I can't feel negative. I have to be positive all the time. And that I feel, and I'd love to get your interpretation of this. I feel like if I'm trying to mask my pain, or if I'm trying to mask my negativity, if I'm trying to mask my angriness, my whatever, that's going to lead to a bottled up, emotions that are going to, it's going to pop one day. It's going to, like, you can't just hold in. It's like trying to hold in a poop, right? Eventually you're going to get stopped up. Eventually you're going to get, it's going to feel terrible. So I tell people, like, just feel it. If you're sad, feel it. Cry, do whatever you need to do. That's why they have rage rooms now. If you're mad, feel it. Let those emotions out. Because when we bottle up these emotions, because social media is like, stop focusing on the negative and you're always negative and stop this and, whatever. It's like, no, feel positive and negatives all at the same time, or independently, or whatever you want to call it, but at least feel them fully. But then you got to move on. Like, you can't just stay negative. You can't just stay a victim. Let it feel and then move on.
If you feel it, that's the art. Is like, if you take the letter E off the word emotion, what you have left is motion. And so the truth is that emotions move. That is what they do. And so the way we get stuck in depression and chronic anxiety is that we're not actually feeling it. We're not allowing it. And so there's this backlog. And I absolutely agree with everything you just said. And so I think that the move on part happens through the feeling part. You feel it. That's when you drop it in the bowl, right? And you flush and it's out and you feel lighter until the next time you have a feeling, right? And
Absolutely.
I agree completely. I equate, anger is a big one, because I think anger is, even the, therapeutic industry is talking about managing anger. I do love the new advent of rage rooms. And personally, I started working with anger with an axe and wood. My mentor got me out on the land chopping wood with an axe. And I've actually taken about 24 clients out to the woods and, watch them and taught them how to chop wood. And that's not the most practical method for everyone, because sometimes we live in cities and it's hard to get to an axe and we don't know how to use an axe, or we can't physically use an axe. But there's a lot of ways where we can actually tantrum in a safe, contained way. And I think the best metaphor for anger is fire, because it's like, you see red, you get hot. There's all these metaphors that speak to the heat of anger. And if you can't, like you're saying, you can't contain fire, it's going to explode. And so it's like, how do you have safe little burns where you're not doing it to anyone, but you're releasing that tension, and you're, learning how to have a healthy relationship with fire, just like we would if we wanted to have a fire in our home. We would have a fireplace. It would be contained. We'd be careful.
Yep.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
It's not a bad emotion. It's like life providing.
Right. Oh, 100%. But I just really want people to know, like you said, I mean, you framed it perfectly. Do it in a safe environment. Don't rage on your family. Go to the gym. Go hit a punching bag for a little bit. Get that anger out. Get those. It's okay to cry during a movie. Like, if you're emotional, don't try to hold it in and be like, well, I'm a man, I can't cry. Right. Just let it, you have these emotions for a reason.
Enjoy the release. Yeah, it feels great.
And when you're happy, feel it fully. What I've noticed, some people don't allow themselves to be happy. Oh my gosh, if I feel happy, then it's going to be taken away from me. Like it always is taken away from me, and I can't have that. It's like, dude, don't live that, in that type of environment. So as we start to close the show, give me like a minute. Like, how do you elevate the world around you?
Elevate the world? Is that what you said?
Yep. Elevate the world around you. Your immediate sphere of influence. How do you elevate the world around you?
Such a fascinating question. Well, I take good care of myself. I definitely, do my best to exercise and sleep and nourish myself with good foods and move my feelings through me so that I'm not walking around with toxicity and explosive energy. I, do my best to be warm and open to people I meet. And, right now, just what I'm actually doing, I mean, I have a full-time private practice, which means between 20 to 25 hours of therapy a week. And then I'm in the process of final edits of the emotional potty training manuscript and writing a book proposal and hopefully getting that out. And I'm about to start this course in November of guiding people through a 6-week journey of the first season of the podcast through this emotional work, where they get one-on-one and a little bit of group, and then, ways to understand the different content. So I'm really I'm working around the clock basically, which is why I need to take such good care of myself to bring this content forward to the world, to help people become less ashamed of their hard feelings and become really skillful so they can feel good and emotionally resilient. And my whole life is pretty much right now committed to this, and it starts with my own self-care. And I'd say it's going pretty well. Given how much I'm doing, I feel like it's going pretty well.
Right. I absolutely love it. I think that you're doing an amazing, amazing amount of work in a space that is completely needed. We hear about safe spaces. We hear about therapy dogs. We hear about all this emotional and mental, stuff that's going on. And I thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for spending time with us today. And my new dog, who apparently ran through my house midway through the show.
That's life. That's why you have to have the skills to have your feelings about all the crazy stuff that happens, the shit show that is life. Yeah, it was a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm glad you're doing what you're doing too. And thanks for having me on and introducing me to your awesome audience. And yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's all keep feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Life Transformation Radio listeners, right now, go to healingfeelingshitshow.com. listen to Rachel's show, subscribe to it wherever you're comfortable listening to podcasts. As we close, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.